ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930 present The Drive. Brought to you by Huntington Federal Savings Bank. Local then, local now. Member FDIC.
It is Wednesday, June 17th. Your drive begins now on ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930. I'm your host, Paul Swann. You can join the program by calling the Miller Lite phone lines. How do you do that? Well, it's real simple. All you have to do is pick up your phone and you dial 877-420-TALK. 877-420-8255. Miller Lite Hold True, great taste. Only 96 calories. It is the original light beer coming up this hour on the program. The basketball tournament is going to be the gift that continues to give and give and give for the next couple of weeks. And hopefully heard that the Marshall alumni team will win several games. Maybe they'll get to the championship, win that. That'll be great for them. That'll be great for the program. Ryan Taylor, one of the Thundering Herd alum on the team, joins us here in the next few minutes also. We talked a little bit about it yesterday. The National Football Foundation and College Hall of Fame announcing the names on the 2021 ballot. This is for induction into the College Football Hall of Fame. Chris Parker. Some Herd fans, you know Chris Parker. I don't need to explain it any further. For younger Herd fans, I'm finding this out, and I don't know if we just need to get the word out better. But Chris Parker is a big deal. So younger Herd fans, and I've talked to a few of you, don't know really too much about Chris. He came from the 90s, came from one of the most successful periods of Marshall football ever. Of course, he can claim national championship next to his accomplishments. Chris Parker, he joins us on the program about 5:30, so I'm looking forward to talking to him and reintroducing him to a few people. For longtime Herd fans, you've been with the Herd for a long time. You know the deal. I don't need to really do that. But for younger Herd fans, for you newer Herd fans, maybe being a fan for the first time in your life, going to Marshall for the first time, or you've been around the program a few years, you become a fan, you don't know too much about really, because you hear Randy Moss's name. I mean, really, you hear Randy Moss, you hear Chad Pennington, and you get those guys. You hear Troy Brown, and you kind of get that name as well because, of course, he was with the Patriots. And you get that NFL connection because you connect a little bit more. Oh, hey, yeah, Randy Moss. I watched him in the NFL. He went to Marshall. Oh, hey, Chad Pennington. Yeah, I saw him in the NFL. He went to Marshall. For younger Herd fans, you know that. You kind of maybe focus in on that. Byron Leftwich, of course, he's having a nice second career. He's, I think, going to be a head coach one day, and he'll do a great job. Byron Leftwich, you know him. Of course, you know him being carried on the field. That's an iconic moment. You know all that. But Chris Parker, I don't know if he gets enough love. So he's going to get plenty of love on this program today, so we're going to talk to him. And as I mentioned, we'll get your phone calls in at 877-420-TALK, 877-420-8255. So what else we got going on today? Well, we're going to focus on those two things. There is some hope for baseball. Yesterday, if you would have asked me if baseball was coming back, I would have told you, no, baseball's not coming back, not this year. Well, there might be some positive movement on that front. Believe it or not, a new proposal's been put out. We're looking at more of a prorated pay that the players want. We're looking at maybe 60 games. If they could get 60 games in, I think we'd be good. Because I don't think you want to push baseball way past August, September, October. You don't want to go too much in the fall right now. I don't think so anyway. With the current climate, we don't know what the pandemic is going to allow to happen. We don't know what the models will show and actually be. So there's a lot of concern still that if you go too far, and of course with baseball, if you're playing in the late months, and that's going to be a concern for football as well. I mean, seriously, it's going to be a huge concern for football. Don't know where we're going to go, but we'll get into baseball a little bit later on. Hopefully, they're going to be able to move forward. Hopefully, we know soon with the NCAA what more can happen, what the schedules are going to look like, if there's going to be any adjustment, if NFL teams are going to be able to progress, if college football teams are going to be able to progress. So we got a lot of that stuff coming up, and we'll get into it, of course. As I mentioned, you get your phone calls in at 877-420-TALK, 877-420-8255 if you want to be a part of the program today. We are taking your phone calls, and you can also find us on social media. That's a great place to find us. Social media, at Paul Swann is my Twitter handle. Also, you can follow me on Facebook. We've got a page set up just for you. It's called The Drive with Paul Swann. We post all our podcasts. We give you a heads up sometimes on when we got great guests like today. If you're following us on social media, you already knew who was coming up on the show today. And guess what? We might have more stuff like that for you. So all you have to do is follow us on Facebook, follow me on Twitter. All easily done. You can do it while you're listening to this program. And, of course, while you're at it, go ahead, get that podcast as well. Grab that Apple Podcast, Spotify, Stitcher, wherever you get your podcast. Subscribe, click, like, review. 5 stars. 5 stars. Not 4, not 4. 5. Not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4. 5. 5 stars. Spencer Dupuy, our producer. Have you liked the podcast on Apple Podcasts? Have you given me 5 stars, sir?
Not only have I liked it on Apple Podcasts,
Yeah?
I've reviewed it 5 stars, but it's also on my Spotify.
Okay.
So if I'm just feeling Spotify for the day and some reason I'm not here, I can always tune in on Spotify as well.
Good deal. Oh, by the way, I got some news today. You know the Buck Harless, they've got an Instagram account. I didn't know that. Did you know that they had an Instagram account?
Yes, I did tell you that when we had Lisa Williamson on.
Okay. So I must have not maybe heard you clearly.
Well, I guess you may have read over it.
Okay.
Because I wasn't in. That's when I couldn't come in.
Yeah, I got you. Okay, that's fair. That's fair.
So
well, guess
maybe
what?
a miscommunication there.
That's okay. That's fair. We corrected that because guess the featured athlete is today.
I just saw. It's
tell me who the featured athlete is today.
It's the other Kinder Communications intern.
Well, what's her name?
Stormy Randazzo.
So Stormy Randazzo is the featured athlete on the Instagram account today. The other, as you call her, the other intern. You're awful silent all of a sudden.
She is the other intern. I'm one of the interns. She's the other intern. She's not here right now, so she is the other one.
She is a junior from Texas. She majors in journalism. Semester GPA of 4.0. Overall GPA 3.55. And she made the Conference USA Academic Honor Roll. How's your GPA?
It's not good.
It's not good.
It's not as good as that.
It's not as good as Stormy
It's not
Randazzo.
as good as that, and I missed out on the dean's list by 0.01.
Okay, there's no shame in that. 0.01?
It sucks, yes.
Okay,
sucks.
I mean, there's no shame.
0.01.
There's no shame. You were close. You were close. You were very close. All right, we're going to take our first break, come back. We are going to talk to Ryan Taylor. We're going to talk to Chris Parker later on. It's all coming up on today's edition of The Drive here at ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930.
Never miss a moment of The Drive with Paul Swann. Subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Yesterday sort of felt like March Madness. We had bracket unveiling yesterday for the basketball tournament. We were hoping, we kind of knew, but we were hoping still heard that announced, and you saw the bracket unveiled. You saw West Virginia's alumni team, Best Virginia, and then you saw Marshall's alumni team. I've heard that, and you thought to yourself, okay, I've seen this before, but all right, both teams are in. Let's get it going. Obviously, we're rooting for the Herd alumni team on this radio program, and joining us now to tell us a little bit more about what's going on is one of the all-time greats at Marshall University, one of your favorite players, Ryan Taylor, with us now. And Ryan, when you saw that, what were you thinking? Here we go again, Marshall, West Virginia?
Yeah, pretty much. It's been a while since I played against West Virginia. You know, they kind of did away with the rivalry, and then it was kind of renewed with the tournament game. But, I mean, I think it's a great cause. We're looking forward to it, especially us Marshall people. Past few years, we're like 0-3, 0-4 against. So this will be a big-time win right here. A lot of bragging rights on the team, I feel like.
What keeps you coming back to this thing? It's exciting, and this year it's a little more challenging with everything that's been put in place to keep you safe, keep everyone else safe with COVID-19. This could have been a year maybe you just passed up on. What made you decide to come back and go through all this?
Just the joy I get out of playing basketball still, and then on top of that, playing with my brothers that I played with at Marshall. We've been through battles, wars, and it's a great atmosphere to get out there and play in this CBT. And then it's nationally televised. It's the only live, up-to-date sporting event going on, so it doesn't get any better than that.
Yeah, you mentioned you've got an alumni team now. This isn't just a collection of guys you know. It's mostly alumni, so along with you, Stevie Browning, you've got John and Ott Elmore, you have C.J. Burks, and then you get a few guys that you all sort of know to put together a team that represents Marshall. You think, or have you seen already, a lot of people are maybe more excited now that it's an actual Marshall alumni team representing the Herd?
Oh, yeah, definitely. The support we're getting and just the people around us just been talking to us about it. When they found out we were going to enter a Marshall team in the TBT, they were just excited. And now that it's actually a thing and we're actually in the tournament, it's even more better. You have the city of Huntington, just the state of West Virginia being represented in both ways.
Would you like to see maybe you and your team on a different side of the bracket than the West Virginia team? I know this is going to generate a lot of conversation for several weeks, but wouldn't it have been nice to see maybe two West Virginia-based teams just have a chance to go far in the tournament?
Yeah, it definitely would be. I think the only other thing that would have made it better is if we were both able to meet up in the championship. That's big-time bragging rights right there for over $1 million.
So you scout teams. You're a coach now. You put the breakdown on teams all the time. You know what you're doing out there. Have you been scouting a little bit? You've seen these guys before, and collectively and not collectively, you know what they're all about. You like the matchup? I mean, we're talking Press Virginia here, just about, against you guys, and your team has been described as one that doesn't see a shot that it doesn't like.
Yeah, definitely. I played against some of those guys. John played against them. Like the Marshall team in general, we know the physicality level is going to be there. But at the end of the day, it's going to be a game of two different styles, defense versus offense. And hopefully it's an entertaining game, and I think it will be. But I think it'll be a good game to play in and watch and just be a part of in general.
Now, onto the quarantine measures, you're going to have to pretty soon, if not already, you've got to go through a pretty strict regimen here of quarantining, putting yourself in a position where there's going to be a lot of tests. If one teammate tests positive for COVID-19, the whole team is disqualified. So you really are, I'm sure, locking down right now so you don't miss your opportunity to be a part of this tournament.
Yeah, definitely. With everything that's going on, it's very strict measures. But I think we'll be fine. We're going to do a little self-quarantine, which we already have been doing, but we're going to do it even a little more. And just get ready for training camp. It's time to block out a lot of stuff, and I know it's kind of hard with Father's Day weekend coming up and the tournament less than 2 weeks away. So it'll be difficult for some of those people that have those that are parents and stuff like that. But I think it'll be fine. We'll be just okay.
Yeah, it's that's a big issue there. For a lot of guys in this tournament, they're going to be away from family. They're going to be away from their children. They're going to be away from a lot of people for the next few weeks. So it must feel good, though, that you guys are able to come together to do this, because you wouldn't be able to if you didn't have the support in place, the mechanism to allow you to do this.
Yeah, definitely. We have our support system that's been working with us and just trying to get this thing on the ball and get it rolling. Has been second to none. They've been awesome. Along with me, John, Stevie, and certain people just reaching out to people that we know that can help out with us in any form of way, whether it be a team meal where we can get to know each other and bond like that, or any little thing like that. They've been big help for us.
Okay, I got to ask you. You got Ott Elmore as the general manager, and then you got John Elmore. I don't know. He's maybe like a floor general. Where do you see your role? I mean, do you see yourself as a floor general, throwing a little coaching in here? I mean, are you going to maybe do some coaching duties here? What's Ryan Taylor's role in this team?
I'll just say my role is to do whatever it takes to get the win. But definitely at Marshall, I was very outgoing. I talked a lot, and on the court, and that kind of helped out a lot of people in certain situations as far as defensively and offensively. So I guess you can say that coaching thing's been in me for a while, and now it just brought to light with me being a coach at high school. But I'm gonna try to do a little bit of everything to get it done.
Who talks more on the court, you or John Elmore?
John talks when he's scoring, and he gets in people's head. I just talk out there. I'm like quarterback. I yell out the calls, or I'm like the center of a football team. I yell them out, tell them where the stuff is coming from and stuff like that. So I'll probably have to give it to John, though. But you couldn't tell because it's the way John smiles and goes about it.
It's good to have him out there, though, because he likes to go out there and he does talk a little trash. He's funny about it at times too. It's nothing terrible, but still, he likes to go out there talk a little junk. That probably takes a little pressure off you. You can go about your business and just go score since they're all focusing on John, I'm sure.
Yeah, definitely. That's it. We know John is the big name on our team, and he's going to be out there talking and doing what he has to do. So we, Stevie, and the rest of the team will just be able to go about how we go. And hopefully we come out of there with a win on this first game.
Joining us on the program, one of the all-time greats at Marshall University, Ryan Taylor, heard that entry into the basketball tournament. And as we mentioned, you're going to be working with Stevie Browning, C.J. Burks, both John and Ott Elmore. You've got Rondell Watson. You got a few guys, though, that are not Herd alum. And I'm still sitting there going, I'm rooting for Chris Coakley now from UAB. I'm rooting for that guy now. I mean, that's tough.
Yeah, it is. But we know what he brings to the table. I played against him for 3 years, John for 4, and Ja'Cory Williams from Middle Tennessee. But all those hard feelings that we had when we was playing against them are out the door, and they're bored. They're ready to go. They're ready to rock and roll and get this thing started. I think those additions, along with 2 others, Ryan Luther, we played him when we played at Pitt that 1 year, and Zach Smith that played at Texas Tech after the big. I think we added a lot of key pieces to our team that can help us and push us far in this tournament.
How is it working with those guys? Or you had much chance to really work with them, gel yet? I know with the pandemic, it's been tough for guys to try to work out and try to stay in shape and try to get some gym time. Have you had much to work with these guys, or just basically been more conversations?
It's been more conversations, but when I was still playing, I would go out and work out with Ja'Cory Williams, so I know what he brings, and the other guys I played against them, and they're still playing, so I know they haven't let up. If anything, they got a lot better. So right now it's just been a lot of conversation via text or FaceTime or Zoom meetings and stuff like that. But they'll be here in West Virginia Friday, and we're going to have a training camp and get things on the road and get them ready to go.
You kind of relieved you finally get to this point. As you mentioned earlier, this is going to be on ESPN. It's going to be the only basketball action for a long time that any of us get. It felt like March Madness yesterday with the bracket being announced, and we need this right now. Would you agree that with sports being gone so long, this is sort of therapeutic for all of us? We need this.
Oh yeah, definitely. I think it won't take a lot off of what's going on in the world, but it'll take somewhat off of it. Sports is an outing for a lot of people. They get away from a lot of things personally, and besides personally other things. But with this being on and how fun and entertaining it is as far as the basketball, the commentators and stuff like that, it's a very laid-back, relaxed type of sport. But it's still high intense with the basketball. But I definitely think we need this, even the players, the people watching, I think everybody needs this as a whole.
Joining us on the program, one of the all-time greats at Marshall University, Ryan Taylor. The Heard That entry will face off against the West Virginia alumni entry of Best Virginia. You guys are going to be on July 5th, day after Independence Day. So, a lot of people are going to be enjoying the holiday and locking in and watching you guys play. And I know you got to be excited for this, and I think we all are as well. It's tough doing a sports talk show on a daily basis, Ryan, without any content. So this helps a lot. I mean,
thank you, man. I appreciate being on, just talking. I was telling one of my coaches, I said, we haven't been in the sports world. I haven't had to do anything like this in a long time just because of the COVID. It's cut the high school basketball season short, but it's always good to be on and just talk about sports. Like I said, sports is always an outing for people.
All right, we're looking forward to it. Good luck with this, and then I can't wait for us to get you back on when we're talking high school basketball again. I hope we can get to that point where we're right back doing the things that we all love to see you do.
Thank you. You too. Thank you.
It's Ryan Taylor, one of the all-time greats at Marshall University, part of Heard That. Heard That will take on Best Virginia. That's going to be on July 5th in the basketball tournament. I'm excited for that. The state, I'm sure, excited for it. We get basketball back, and West Virginia really has something to talk about for the next few weeks as West Virginia Marshall all over again. When we come back, though, we're going to turn our attention square and solely on Marshall football. Chris Parker joins me on the other side of the break here on ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930.
Our Kindred Communications family of stations reminds you of the need for blood donations to the Red Cross. Blood is always needed. It may save your life or the life of a loved one. This reminder is brought to you in part by
Ashland Cycle Center, 1301 Greenup Avenue, Ashland, Kentucky. United Way of the River Cities. Be an agent of change at United Way of the River Cities. The special venues at Marshall University. Host a wedding reception, banquet, or reunion. Look no further than Marshall University. Phone 304-696-2538.
You're listening to The Drive with Paul Swann on ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930.
We're presented by Huntington Federal Savings Bank. Welcome back to the Wednesday, June 17th edition, The Drive on ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930. So yesterday we get the ballot, find out who's eligible to get into the College Football Hall of Fame. And, of course, what do? I immediately scour it until I find out who do I know that's on this ballot. And once again, let me just point out, he should already be in, but we're going to work our tails off to get him in. One of the all-time greats at Marshall University, Chris Parker, is on the ballot, and he joins us now on the program. And can I hype you up any further, Chris? All-time great. I mean, am I missing anything?
You'd have to ask my wife. She does a better job of me than keeping the stat.
Okay. Maybe we should get her on, too. She could help hype us up. But one of the reasons I wanted to get you on the show, one, of course, this is a great honor to even be on the ballot. But two, you played in the 90s. Some of the youngins, including my show producer, really doesn't know enough about Chris Parker. You look at you historically, statistically, and everything you did at Marshall. I mean, you hold up as one of the all-time greats, period. And so I kind of feel like maybe we need to reintroduce some of the younger Herd fans to you. The old ones that have been around for a while, they know the deal. But really, you were there at probably one of the most important times of Marshall football history.
Yeah, it definitely was a time that I feel like we were building. Of course, Jim Donnan, being the coach at the time, and had some great teammates. Guys, I'll shout out Aaron Ferguson, Glenn Pedro. Just some guys that really helped to be a family, and I think we were able to accomplish a lot in a short window. And I think the city was hungry for it, and I'm glad we were able to accomplish so much. And obviously, Michael Payton, God rest his soul, was instrumental to that time as well.
You look at your stats, and, of course, that's where I'm sure a lot of voters are going to look at, just see the stats and see that you had a substantial career. But as you mentioned, I think you had probably a more impactful career at Marshall than you would have anywhere else because everything you just mentioned. I mean, this was a time where Marshall was trying to build a program. The stadium was brand new. You bring in Coach Don in, and the level of success finally rose to what everyone was hoping for. And yeah, you could have probably had the same career somewhere else, but you're probably more beloved and more remembered for it here than you might have been anywhere else. With these same success, you probably get more love here than you would anywhere else.
Yeah, it's definitely hard to say. With stones unturned, but Huntington definitely was a place for me that fostered great family. I met my wife there, and that's obviously super important to me. And ironically, we're celebrating our 25th wedding anniversary, July the 1st coming up. So that's the sweetest part of the whole thing, is that I met her there, and she was very much a part of my success. She was there for me before and after games. Really just being everything that a wife would be, even before she was my wife. So I owe a lot of credit to her. The Marshall Kingdom, if you will, owes a lot of credit to her, because she is definitely an instrumental part of what I feel like I was able to accomplish. And like you said, I think Huntington was just that kind of town where someone like me, leaving home for the first time, going off into the big bad world, if you will, on my own, I feel like Huntington allowed me to grow up and to become a man and to leave a legacy. Because when I look back at the time, I was able to come back with my son and my daughter, and I can't remember what the event was, but to see some of the different buildings on campus and to walk into the Hall of Fame and to see a lot of guys, the Troy Browns, the Mike Bartrams, and even many guys that have passed on. Kind of eerie to be in a place where so much death has already happened, natural and unnatural, but definitely a place that I remember fondly, and I'm always glad to get back there when I get back. It's been a minute, but Huntington is always will always have a big piece of my heart.
Chris Parker is with us, and of course he was a member of several championship runs, and now you have an opportunity to get into the Hall of Fame. When this first became a possibility, what was going through your mind, maybe, or what were you feeling when this first became a possibility that, hey, I might be able to get into the College Hall of Fame?
It's probably the furthest thing from my mind, thought-wise, because I'm the kid that was too small, went out to play football for the first time, got cut, went home, cried to mom. In high school, played, got the chance to start as a junior, got put back on the bench when the guy came back, and then as a senior got to start, and then luckily, blessed in a super way, was able to get a scholarship and to come to Marshall, and even to get on the field as a scholarship athlete, and to have the success that I had has far surpassed any dream or goal that I ever set for myself. And, not to mention, a couple of years with the Jags, 2 years with the Jags. So to be in the College Football Hall of Fame, or to be nominated to be in the College Football Hall of Fame, is really icing on the cake, and far more praise and far more accolades than I would have ever anticipated. But I'm definitely humbled by the opportunity, and I'm just grateful for, to be on the ballot, and it would be the honor of a lifetime, if it comes to fruition. So they're definitely very humbling. I would say that's really the word that, whoever imagines that that's something that they could accomplish. But, dreams do come true.
Are you enjoying, or I hope you're enjoying, maybe sort of a renaissance where people are rediscovering? People like me, we're in the same class. I was there, you were there at the same time. I was in the stands as a fan in 1992 for that first championship game. So, we're the same era. But have you started to maybe enjoy younger herd fans rediscovering that time of Marshall football and finding out who you are? Has that happened for you yet?
It has a few times, just different times. My son was playing at UNC Charlotte, and, just going up at some games there, especially when they played Marshall, almost like a little bit of a reunion of sorts, and even as a result of that, being able to do some Zoom calls here during the quarantine and catch up with some guys that I hadn't, seen in years. And, that's always really cool. Just thinking of even some of the guys on the West Coast, I'll give a shout out like Uri Hill and Theron Todd, some guys had, we've had some different events, found out, Joey Davis, DJing and, just some really cool things have come out of that. And, it's really, like you said, it's family that we've grown to be. And I think that, again, Marshall has definitely played an instrumental role in that.
Now, I don't know how you campaign for this, and I don't feel like you're the type that's going to put out a marketing campaign, but your wife sounds like she would.
You know me well.
Yeah, your wife sounds like she would. She'd be the one that would go out and hammer this home. Yeah. Do you feel like everything speaks for itself, or maybe someone needs to advocate for you a little more to maybe make this dream happen for you? Because obviously, a guy like me, I'm going to advocate for you, and that's one thing. But just as your story gets back out there again, do you feel that maybe others could help you, or your wife, maybe she's going to be the one leading the charge on this?
I'm not, I'm not against someone if someone wants to take the torch and run with it. I'm not one to toot my own horn, so to speak, and naturally, I'd be remiss if I didn't speak a little bit on the social climate of our country. I mean, obviously, I'm a black man in our country, and and we're not necessarily being smiled upon, so greatly right now. So if I were to take a personal crusade and try to really promote myself into the Hall of Fame during this time, I feel like it would be me really taken away from a bigger struggle that's going on right now. But yes, for sure, my wife would definitely be wanting to campaign, and Aaron Ferguson and Chris Gross, two of my buddies, I'm sure they'd be on the campaign trail. And I actually talked with Aaron, through text, and he's like, Ben, when it happens, we're going to be there. And he's one of those guys that he's been a friend for a long time. And even one game, we actually stopped at his parents' house and crashed there at their house and slept. They had never met me like that. My wife and I actually spent the night with them and had a great time of fellowship with them. And so it's definitely, like I said, an honor to be in this position, and my hat's off to whomever is responsible for keeping the train moving. But there is I guess a sense of humility in me that if it's going to happen, it's going to happen. I don't want to have to campaign for it.
Chris Parker joins me. He is on the ballot for induction into the College Football Hall of Fame. And if you would, let's go back just a second. As you mentioned, right now, the climate in America, with a lot of things happening, we're in difficult times for everyone.
Yeah.
And do you look at the times we're in now as a former athlete and see athletes not only on the pro level but in the college level as well finally being able to feel like they can use their voice, use their platform, use their power? I mean, if college athletes realized how powerful they were in the grand scheme of things, it would be a tidal wave of things that could happen. Because for many years, do you feel like the voices weren't heard, or the voices weren't able to speak up? Because now it feels like they're able to speak up and being heard more.
Yeah, I think that this is definitely a pivotal time in our country. And I feel like, every time that there's unrest, I'll use that word, there are people that speak up. There are voices, that have spoken up, over the course of time and over history, athlete or not. But, I do believe that, we as people at large, do have an opportunity to lift our voices. And me being someone that's not on social media, so my voice is not often heard. So this is probably a rare treat for somebody. But because I don't, typically get on, never been on Facebook, I'm on LinkedIn. So, you can find me out there. But I definitely feel like this is an opportunity for a lot of change to happen. And I commend the companies that have already, started to look at, how they are or are not necessarily leveling the field for people of color. I commend the folks that are white, to be honest, that are speaking up and saying, hey, no longer am I going to be a stander by, when I hear a racist joke. No longer am I going to turn a blind eye when I see a kid getting choked out in the street because, that could have been my son. So, and some of those things conversations are already happening. So I'm encouraged by that. And I personally have been, subject to some similar type of experiences. It was called the N-word. One time Kim and I were walking in Huntington. I'm not one to let words stir my soul. It's kind of like sticks and stones. They break my bones. The words will never hurt me. So I shake it off and keep it moving. But that doesn't necessarily let me escape, if you will, the fact that when I look in the mirror that, in a lot of eyes, I'm public enemy number one as a black man, so I do feel like the fact that, I'm getting this honor and, I'm getting an opportunity to speak out and say, fight the good fight, whether you are a black man, a black woman, a white man or a white woman or any other nationality, if you're looking for and fighting for peace and justice for all, then let's get it done, So this is just like I said, a great honor to me to be able to be in this position. And I like to think, when I was in Huntington, I promoted that. I was never one that, I was only going to hang with the black guys or was going to act any certain way. When I volunteered at the Boys and Girls Club, I think it's Gynedot, I worked there a couple of summers, it was kids of all nationalities. And, I loved them all the same, wanting to see them do well, wanted to, encourage them to be the best that they could be and to dream big, and that's what I'm hoping that all this ends up being when it's all said and done, kind of a recalibration, if you will, of things and to the cops that are out there that are doing the right thing, I pat you on the back because I know it's a hard job, a thankless job. And, for the ones that need to correct, I pray that, they get that correction from their peers and that they come to a new sense of what humanity is all about and, and not make it so difficult for someone like me just to, take a road trip or walk down the street or take a jog without looking over my shoulder thinking, is this my last day?
Chris Parker is with us. He is on the ballot for induction into the College Football Hall of Fame. And, of course, a tremendous career at Marshall, outstanding member of the community. Before I let you go, Chris, do you believe, you feel with athletes, we probably get the same type of comments, stick to sports. Me on the radio, you as an athlete or an athlete in general, stick to sports. It just makes you feel a lot better knowing that, okay, athletes are finally not sticking to sports in large quantities. Everyone is finally realizing, look, we're not just going to stick to sports. There are things happening and we're going to be heard.
Yeah, I think that really, speaks for itself when you think of, all of what athletes have been able to accomplish and for a lot of reasons, athletics is something that young men particularly gravitate towards, because, it's fun, it's camaraderie, it's challenging, it's rewarding, it's painful, you laugh, you cry, but again, to be someone that's able to, come to a university, get a degree, like I said, meet my wife of, coming up on 25 years now, and, raise two kids, one at UNC and the other one at UNC Charlotte, and both of them on their way to being very productive members of society and, doing what they're supposed to do and trying to live, the white fence, the house with the picket fence dream, that's all anybody ever wants to do. So, if with the life that I've lived and the legacy that I leave behind in some way makes life better for my kids and my grandkids and any kids of Huntington or beyond that I may have had an opportunity to touch, through conversation or a presentation, then, hey, the world is a little bit better place, and I'm happy with that.
Chris Parker joining us on the program. He is on the ballot for induction into the College Football Hall of Fame, one of my all-time favorite running backs, of course. I mean, we're in school at the same time, so you're going to automatically be one of my favorites. I mean, just period.
Yeah.
Period.
You're biased.
Forget those other guys that have come since. I mean, they're all – the standard is Chris Parker and then everybody else. And I'll tell those guys during interview day, hey, back when Chris was running, I'll remind them.
Well, I appreciate it.
Chris, thank you, sir. I appreciate your time. Hopefully we can get you back on soon. We'll get your wife on. She can lead the hype campaign for us. We'll get her on to do some more promotion.
Oh, yeah. She will definitely get on. And, for those moviegoers, I'm going to do a shameless plug. She has a movie coming out next year. She's an actor, and it's called The Eyes of Tammy Faye. So she will have a part in that. And, there's some other things that, she's done on some of the other platforms. 30 Day Promise is one of them. The Struggle is Real, I believe, is on Yahoo or one of those. But, so she has some things out there, so she's dreaming now. I've dreamed my dream and, played football, and now she's, trying to more and more break into that big screen. So that's what's next. So you'll probably hear more about that from me and her if you bring her back.
Excellent. We will do it. That's a promise. Chris, thank you for your time. I do appreciate it.
You're welcome. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on.
Chris Parker, nominated for College Football Hall of Fame. He's on the ballot. Hopefully we can get him in. We'll wrap it up when we continue with today's edition of The Drive on ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930.
Now, back to The Drive with Paul Swann on ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930.
We're wrapping up the Wednesday, June 17th edition of the show. I'm your host, Paul Swann. Spencer Dupuis behind the glass running the show today. We're here every day from 5 to 6 on ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930. Before we call it a day, we don't want to miss that Athlon Sports, they have released their preseason All-Conference USA team, and Marshall has 8 on the board. We start with Tavante Beckett. We have Talik Keaton. We've got Brendan Knox on the list. Kane Madden. I love Kane Madden. I love that guy. I like all these guys, but Brendan is just solid. Kane is just, again, if you're a good talker on interview day, you get much love from me. Xavier Gaines on the list. Darius Hodge made the second team. Alex Millette, Najee Johnson, they were fourth-team selections. And, of course, you can check all of this stuff out, herdzone.com, for the full story and release. And, of course, Athlon Sports. Do I even want to get sports magazines this year? Do I want – in a COVID-19 world, do I want to get preseason magazines that break down and preview when nobody really had a spring? Nobody had a spring. We'll find out. Hopefully, we can get some things going on. I'm not buying a magazine. Not yet. I mean, if you want to grab them, that's good. That's cool, because this was pre-internet. We'd run to the newsstand, and I would get in the car with Bill Cornwell, and we would just hit the newsstand, and we would get the Athlon, and we'd have a stack of them. We didn't have internet. What was this internet thing here? I had Prodigy, I had CompuServe, man. I had AOL. We didn't have this internet thing where we could just get all this stuff for free and not pay for anything and ruin the entire media landscape by wanting to read everything for free. No, we didn't have any of this stuff. But we'd go get the magazines, and now you can get this stuff readily and freely sometimes on the internet. And that's going to do it for this edition of the program. The program is free for you all the time right here live on ESPN 94.1. Or you can go to our podcast and get it. Apple Podcast or wherever you get your podcast is where you'll find the program. I want to thank my guests this afternoon. We had some really outstanding voices on the show today. Ryan Taylor joining us from Herd, that part of the Marshall basketball alumni team. And one of the all-time greats, Marshall football, Chris Parker. Appreciate those gentlemen for joining me on the program this afternoon. For our producer, Spencer Dupuis, I'm Paul Swann. This has been The Drive on ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930. Good night, everyone.
WRBC Huntington, W227BS Huntington, your flagship home of the Marshall Thundering Herd and The Drive with Paul Swann, ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930.